It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
I don't want to lose. I want to win.
I need professional help.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sports Betting Weekly, sponsored by EasySportsData.com. The books use data, shouldn't you too? And this is easy sports data, like the preschoolers use. EasySportsData.com.
I win here and I win there. Now what?
Sports Betting Weekly.
I want to win.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Money talk. Here comes the money.
You should also check out SportsBettingLessons.com. You'll learn some old tricks because sometimes how you bet is more important than who you bet. SportsBettingLessons.com.
Let's just do it. Let's meet this thing head on. And you were in it to win it. Talk about an education.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Wow, winning.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome to Sports Betting Weekly. I should say, welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly, because in the middle of a heater, we went on vacation. Now, you really never know when a heater's coming, guys, so you kind of just do what you're going to do anyway. But we did. We went live action, another great week. I ended up nailing the Baylor game. I had the total exactly, and then I went on vacation. But we are back, and we are going to be joined by John from GMF Sports Consultants right now, and later on we're going to have Wes, Blackhawk Wes, who just told us his live play is going to be the Blackhawks and then again the second period over, so we'll be talking to him as soon as we get going. But you kind of know how it is here at Sports Betting Weekly. We look at the weekend's board, but more importantly, we want you to be rewarded for checking in to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Thursdays at 8 o'clock. And starting this week for us, we have a show that follows us. The Sports Loudmouths are going to be on right after us, so that's pretty cool. That's Errol and Speedy Petey. We're going to talk to John right now about what we missed this past weekend, because really I spent the weekend kind of incognito, and it was nice. But I tell you, John, by Monday, I was ready to come back, and I didn't. I didn't come back till Tuesday, but I was ready to come back Monday. How was your weekend? Did you make some money?
It was good. The weekend was good. We just, following MLB, just more of an analytics standpoint, just kind of watching, keeping track of the games. As people who watch the show kind of hear us talk about it before, with any sport, the first few weeks, everything's small, quarter units, half units. We're just really kind of getting a feel, obviously honing in on the pitchers, honing in on how the teams are doing. So, but the weekend was good. I kind of laid low too. We had a little bit of action, but there was nothing too much for me. But, this week and coming back into this weekend, we'll be kind of, vamping it back up again.
Yeah, and I jumped right on the bandwagon. So, as you know, we have this program we developed called Easy Sports Data. And really, the simplest way to describe it, it's at every point spread and every line and every score for every part of the game, and it's all in one place. And we have it broken down not only by team, but by pitcher. So it allowed me to jump right in, and we started on Wednesday. So Tuesday, we put the whole season together. There was only 10 games. Remember, they started on April 1st. There was some rainouts, and there was some COVID issues. It was about 10 games for each team. So it was a lot of work, but we got it done. And Wednesday, as you know, because I was keeping you in the loop, we started out 9-0. Now, 7 of them were in one game. And that's the other thing about Sports Betting Weekly. I don't think you're going to find another sports betting show, John, where we cash handfuls of tickets in the same game. I talked to a guy that's a hockey fan, and we were talking about the show, and I said, "Oh, you're a hockey fan? Did you watch the Bruin game in Tahoe?" He goes, "Of course I did. I can't believe they had it during the day." I said, "Well, technically they didn't. They tried to have it during the day, and then they moved it to nighttime." But I told him, we cashed 7 tickets in that one game. Remember that? That was really cool.
I remember that game. We had some totals, and I had some Knights action on that as well as two. And we had, I think it wound up being like a 7 or 8 hour delay after it was all said and done.
Exactly,
So yeah,
exactly.
but it worked out for us. But also, not only for cash tickets, this is the power of in-game wagering. You're not stuck with that one ticket for the whole game. If you're doing in-game, you can do like us, and you can cash 5, 6, 7 tickets in just one game, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, as you know, it was an exciting time here in San Diego. For the first time in history, 53 years of Padre baseball, they had a no-hitter. But there was another no-hitter last night. Now, I get to say I lost an underbet on a perfect game because the Chicago game was 7.5, and the guy threw a no-hitter, but they scored 8 runs, so I lost. But during the game, I got it. They scored really early. They scored 6 runs early, and this was before the sign on ESPN said perfect game warning. They scored, so I got it at 9.5, and then I got it at 12.5. They never even sniffed the bases, the other team, Cleveland, and so I ended up getting all my money back on a bet that I lost to start the game. So I ended up breaking even. I went 2-1 in a game where I lost the first play. And that really is what happens a lot. But how about with the Red Sox now? The Red Sox lost today. They lost. And I cashed 3 tickets on the Red Sox. Right? You had a couple of them too, right?
Yeah. I jumped on that with you too as well. And we had some plus money action on that, I believe, on the overruns. Because
I got that. When there was first and second in that inning, before the double to clear the bases, I had 0.5, over under 0.5 at plus 134. That was my third play. So I had 2.5 I started with. Then I went to 1.5. And it's the same thing that Blackhawk West has done tonight in the Rangers game. Now, my website had some technical issues, which happens. I mean, it happens. Technology is not necessarily your best friend. It's just something you got to deal with. And so I didn't get it in, but he said the 3.5, and I quote, was a gift. And before I could even blink, it was 2-0. They ended up scoring 3 in the first period. You hardly ever see 3 goals in the first period, never mind one team scoring it, even though this year we have had a couple crazy early games, 7 and 8 goals in the first period. So, all right. So
there's definitely been some wild scores, but you want to know what? Wes has been on these totals a lot for the NHL. And like I said, for people who are tuning in, Wes has been doing this week in and week out, especially with the Rangers. If you've been following hockey,
really,
you're following
that's what
the Rangers.
He does. As soon as he cashes, he takes half of his winnings and lets it roll over. And the bottom line is he'll cash 3 of them. So he'll take the 3.5. As soon as they scored a goal and went to 4.5, he hopped on that. Yeah. As soon as they scored the second goal, he hopped on 5.5. Every single time, of course, he's putting less money, but as long as he gets that 3.5, he's going to win more than he's bet. Well, when you get 3 goals in the first period, a 3.5 play looks mighty promising, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now you're in a good position, especially in the first period. Now you're in the opportunity to kind of keep going on there. Getting a message from Wes. I think he says he's in the back room somewhere.
Okay, so there he is.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, you know what? My phone. The phone shut up there.
There we go.
Blackhawk West, glad to have you.
Hey, it's good to be here. I hope you guys had a nice little break and start to the baseball season. And
great call on the Rangers game. We were just talking about it. When you've got 3.5 to start and they give you 3 in the first, you really can't do anything but be happy.
And then it gives you an opportunity to catch some plus action, and which is exactly what I did. I jumped on the 5.5 because we've seen these Rangers score 8+ goals. My prediction going into the game was that they were going to hang 6. In the 2 out of the 3 games that they've beat the Devils this year, they've scored 6 goals, and really all but one of these New Jersey and Rangers games have gone 7 goals. So the 5.5 feels great too. It's some plus pay. I think it was plus 135.
Well, yeah, and you do the math, and we talk about it all the time. If you hit the first one, the worst you're doing is getting your money back. But if you hit the first one, then you hit the second one, now you're making money. And if you hit the third one, like we did with the Red Sox game, then you're cashing tickets. And again, we cash handful of tickets on the same game, and it's just really, really cool. Now, you got your Blackhawks got your goal.
Yep.
Yep, they got a goal, and there was 5 minutes in the period when we looked at it, and it was the line was still at like minus 160. Now it's up to John minus 352.
And I'm sorry, that was a first period goal. I'm looking at the second period, it's minus 110. And I like that to go over 2 goals. And the reason I like that as much as I do, I'm looking at the Red Wings with 7 shots on goal and the Blackhawks with 3 shots on goal. And out of 3 shots on goal, they popped 1 in. And the Blackhawks have had games like this where they're very high goal percentage versus total shots. But these teams combined, they're going to start shooting the puck more. So I like over 1.5 this second period. And I like that as a happy Thursday cash for the listeners.
Yeah, well,
There you go.
we should get that in soon because now, as I mentioned to John, that you had said that the second period wasn't even up as an option yet, but it is just now. I'm seeing second period. I'm not seeing the total yet. I am seeing the total for the match from 4.5 to 5.5 to 6.5. So any basketball? You guys are looking at any basketball today?
I have not. No, I have not looked at any basketball today. The only one game I probably will be keeping an eye on, which will be for later tonight, which would be the Celtics. Lakers obviously have their issues with no LeBron James, no Anthony Davis. Also, some of their other key bench players are either questionable, probable, doubtful. If you know NBA, you know how these last minute scratches can get. So I'm going to keep an eye on that because technically I am leaning towards the Celtics side. Celtics have been playing very well lately, the last 4 out of 5. They have played very well also on the road. Also, the last matchup they played against the Lakers. This is when the Lakers had LeBron James and Anthony Davis. The Lakers barely squeaked out a win. So you would have to think the revenge factor for the Celtics coming into this one, obviously with no AD and no Bron once again for the Lakers. So I'll be keeping an eye on that for later.
So yeah, so that's the one thing I want to look at is we're gonna get some live action in. I also have some baseball now. I was mentioned to John West that the Easy Sports Data started out 9-0 my first day, and it ended up we went 15-6 yesterday, and we were plus 105%. So I think I started with 90 something bucks, and I ended up with almost 200 bucks. And again, if you can go in a sports book with 90 something bucks and come home with 90 something bucks and you spend the night there, life's pretty good. So when you come home with twice the money, and of course, the way to really win big money is with parlays. That's where you're gonna make your plays. And I won't start parlays until I get a pretty good feel for these teams. Mm-hmm. And again, a lot of sites aren't going to let you do those team total parlays, and that's where we're cashing 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. 7 tickets in one game. You're not going to do that unless you're getting some totals, whether it's team totals or totals. And that's again what we talked about. What you did last year in the baseball playoffs in one inning. You cash more tickets in one inning than most people cash in a day. Never mind. But so I looked at my Easy Sports Data, and I didn't touch the 4 o'clock games because I was working. I have a job. Anyway, it was 5-5-8-7-5. That's what Arizona scored in their last 5 games. So they've scored 15, 20, 30 runs in 5 games. They got 10 in the first 3 innings today. So they were down. They were up 3-0 in the first. They went down 3-4. Don't you hate that when your team gets a lead and then they give it right back? And then they dumped 7 in the second. So I guess those pitchers were on pitch counts, like 7. You've thrown 7 pitches, you've given up 3 runs. It's time for you to sit down. But we do have some games later on, and I'm going to let you know that I've got some plays that will not be able to be live because these games haven't started yet. But we've got Oakland. We're on the Oakland team total over. And again, in the last 4 games, they've scored 6, 7, 9, and 7. So we're going to hop on that. And then Colorado, we hit them last night. We're going to bet them again. We are not betting the Dodgers because the Dodgers are minus 300.
It's a lot of juice. Yeah, that's a lot of juice to play the Dodgers.
What we're doing is we're betting.
Especially at home. So.
Oh, yeah, but we're going to bet the Colorado team total under because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. once in the last 9 games have they scored more than 3 runs. The over-under is 3.5, so we went the under again. Last night, they had a little rally. They scored 2 runs. They didn't score again, so it worked out well for us. So in terms of that live action in the second period, I still don't have a total yet. They're showing it that it's still in the first period, though.
It's 1.5, and my book now is showing minus 115.
For the total?
Yeah, for the game total second period.
Yeah, I'm not getting that total yet. So we'll pay attention to that. So that's really what I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to have Oakland tonight. I'm going to have the team total over and Colorado team total under. An example with the Colorado game last night. If I didn't have such a great start, and you guys know, just because you're winning, you don't keep betting. Sometimes, you know what, you could sit and watch a little bit because those are the times where you end up having 5 or 6 plays in a game and you can lose all of them too. When we win 7 a lot more than we lose 7. But it is possible that you really believe that it's going to change. Whatever you're seeing is going to change, and it just never changes.
We all talk bankroll management. I mean, that's more important sometimes than the actual winning picks. And you got to think if you have 5 plays and you win the first 4, or you go 3-1, and then if you win your first 4 out of 5 plays, a 4-1 day, that is fantastic. If you're 4-1, if you're 80% on anything you do, I mean that's a pretty good place to be. That'd be a pretty good GPA too. So you got to figure. I wouldn't be adding to that 5th game. I'd be getting out alive, and I'd be happy to be there. 4-1 is great.
Right, exactly. And one of the things we talk about with baseball, hockey, not as much basketball, but the sports where there isn't a run line, there isn't a point spread that you're going money line here. You could be 4-1 and break even because you could have won with a minus 116, a minus 116, a minus 110, and a minus 105, and you lost on the one day that Kershaw gets whacked and he was minus 360. So one thing about baseball is I really don't want to know what your record is when you're betting baseball. If you're betting money lines, I want to know how much you started with and how much you got now, because really you've got to be careful when you see those that juice so high. It's really crazy.
Yeah, when you start playing those minus 200s, like you said in baseball, it gets really dicey because your win percentage has to be that much more greater to cover that juice.
Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah. We have a sheet that shows it, and it's amazing, John. It's like 86%.
Yeah, 80%, and that's probably just to break even on some of these juice plays.
You're absolutely.
Yeah. And so you have to also take this in consideration. Look, for guys who are new to betting, especially for Major League Baseball, look, the best teams in the league are only going to win, let's say, 100 games. There's 162. That means you're going to be 100 and then 62. They're going to lose 62 of those games. So you have to figure in the juice to all of this. Sometimes playing those big, juicy favorites, especially in Major League Baseball, is not the way to go. That's why you should be looking at, like what you, Chaz, team totals and stuff like that, because you're kind of limiting yourself to get hurt for your bankroll on the back end.
And I'll add to that. If you're not comfortable with the line, with the run line or the points line, and you want to bet the favorite money line, you're probably just trying to be the fan in that game. Because if you're not comfortable laying that many points, that means you like the other guy. And you don't be afraid to take points. Taking points is so much better than laying points in so many situations. So I wouldn't lay the juice if I wasn't comfortable with the 3 runs or the 4 runs. Well, I'd take them instead of laying them.
Right, and it really becomes why. And we talk about that all the time. I posted on Instagram, and I think I tagged you guys, where this guy did a great why. He was wrong. His play lost, but that's not the point. If you use a correct why, and that's why you're doing it, and you can't say, this guy pitched really well last time. Well, that's great, but the 4 games since then, the team hasn't scored a run. So unless he's going to score runs with his pitching, you're not going to do well. The whys are so crucial to really what makes a good handicapper. We talk on the show all the time, guys. You tell me why you like somebody, I can tell right away whether you're a good handicapper or not. All you got to do is tell me why you're playing that play. Don't just tell me who you're playing, but why you're playing it. All right, so Wes, you were not here, but we have neighbors for the first time. When we go off the air tonight, the sports loudmouths are going to be on, and that's Errol and Petey. And I've watched the show. Now Errol's a radio guy. Johnny D was a radio guy. Mo's a radio guy. Those radio guys, their voices are really, really cool. I'm just a guy that bought a microphone. You know what I mean? I'm not a radio guy. So, but when we come back from break, we're going to check out the second period for the hockey game. We're going to look at some baseball, see if we can find any live action opportunities. We're going to talk about the weekend games. I got a few other things to talk about. And I also have a post-it note. I have to change the banners on the screen, so you'll have some new banners. And I think I'm going to put the one up with all the guys' Instagram so you can follow them. You're listening to Sports Betting Weekly.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
You keep lying when you ought to be truthin'. And you keep losing when you ought to not bet.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. I am second half Chaz. I'm joined, as always, with Blackhawk West from 151 Sports Investing and John from GMF Sports Consultants. And it did open up. Our second period over 1.5 is officially a play. We got it at minus 173. And you know what? Just so you know, if you are new to sports betting and you're not sure about that whole minus 173, there's a lot of ways you can bet. And we'll talk about a plus number. That's all we'll say. It's nice to get a plus number. We got a plus number. And what that means is we're getting more than we bet. In this case, it's $173 to get 100 back, so you get back $273. But what we're going to do, Wes, is we're going to pay attention, and we're looking to get 2.5 and maybe 3.5. That would be nice if we could hit 2 or 3 second period goals. And, of course, a lot of times you're not going to get that second number until you get a goal and get that first goal, because that number could go down. And that's what happened with the Red Sox today. The Red Sox today, the Easy Sports Data program that's available, and we've been using it for many sports. We're still trying to get the sports. The DRF Racing Forum has a sports forum, and this program is perfect for them, but I can't get them to answer the phone. So anybody from DRF, the sports forum, is listening, pick up your phone when I call. This package is great for you. And I went 15-6 yesterday. Now, it seems like a lot of bets, but I only bet 3 games, and I went 15-6. But what happens is you look at trends, and the Red Sox had scored 3 runs or more in, I think it was 9 straight, or it was a 9 straight before yesterday. And I don't think they had any, or they might have had 1. So we hit 3 yesterday, and then we hit 2 today, or 2 yesterday and 3 today. But we talk about a lot of tickets in one game, guys. We were 5-0 at Red Sox games in the last 2 days, and the team went 1-1. So that's not a bad way to bet in sports. All right, so we're going to head over to the NHL board and ask John, you had one other game you had mentioned, and I want to say it was the Buffalo game.
Yeah, I was keeping an eye on the Capitals game just because the Capitals had went down early. But I believe they're down probably 2 goals right now, I think, in that Capitals game. I'm going to quickly just checking back. So I didn't jump in on anything with that one.
Well, I remember Buffalo broke that long losing streak.
Yeah, they're still kind of up and down. As we all know, Buffalo had some issues, but they broke that streak, and they can kind of been back and forth, the last week or so.
Washington is minus 351 on the money line. What was Buffalo tonight?
You probably looking at plus 200 at least, or something on plus line.
Yeah,
so somebody took definitely. Yeah, yep.
All right, what about this Tampa Bay Florida game? Seems like 1-0 in those two teams is very low scoring.
Yeah, I was just watching that. I think that I forgot. I think it was on ESPN, or maybe it was on the Hockey Network. That's what I was watching. But yeah, I was keeping an eye on that game too. Florida was up 1-0. So this is obviously an advantage where if you liked Tampa Bay Rays, maybe you can jump in and get a little discount on them right now. And actually, Tampa Bay just scored, so it's 1-1 right now.
There you go. What about, and that's what it would have been, the over for
Yeah.
the second period there. What about Winnipeg Jets game, Wes, that you mentioned?
I think West got knocked out for some reason.
Oh, okay. So if he comes back, he had mentioned the Winnipeg Jets, and they're up 3-1. They're up 3-2.
Yep. Yeah, he mentioned Winnipeg. Winnipeg was getting plus money. So, West jumped on him earlier. I think that was one of his players for hockey that was on the group chat. And so if you were on that group chat, you would have got Winnipeg at plus money, looking good so far.
Right, and if you want to get involved in that group chat, you know what? That's a perfect segue, because I'm going to go in here and put this banner on, and it's the cash tickets page on Sports Betting Weekly. So what happens is a lot of guys are really secretive. I've been doing this a long time. There's a lot of guys that are real secretive about their plays, like they're dropping six figures and moving the line 1.5 points. It's really common sometimes, and that's not the case. But we're not. So what we do is we communicate back and forth. Wes says he's back. Let's see if he is. There he is.
There he is.
And what we do is we go back and forth. So check out the bottom of the screen. It's the cash tickets page on Sports Betting Weekly. I'll have it updated for the weekend. And really, that's when I start. I really start my weekend Thursday nights. Now, with baseball and my Easy Sports data program, I'm going to be doing a Did You Know It page, a post every day on Twitter. I'm going to do a Did You Know It post, and it's going to be something that I'm finding, a nugget from first 5 inning odds and first 5 inning data, because as you guys know, first 5 innings a lot of times is the only guarantee that the same pitcher is going to be pitching. Because how many times have you had a 3-0 lead in the 7th? The guy looks good. He reaches a pitch count. They take him out. You lose the game 4-3.
Yeah, and Major League Baseball, obviously, if you've been following baseball and if you notice the pitch count, the trends for these starting pitchers, they don't go very deep. You don't see too many guys unless they have these perfect game or no-hit opportunities. But, majority of these guys are on, limited pitch counts. And a lot of these teams, the Yankees and everybody, they're so invested in their bullpen. So, when their starters get a lead and you get into that 5th, 6th, 7th inning, they're yanking those starters to get to that bullpen.
And this time of year, they've got to do that. That makes sense. But from a sports betting standpoint, and what do we talk about all the time? The coaches, they don't make decisions because you got $20 on their team.
Yeah, the pitching coach doesn't care.
Right. The players don't know that they're the 5th team of a 5-teamer and the first 4 games of all cats. They don't know that, and they don't care. But what we're going to look at next is that winner. It looks like Wes has given out a winner. Of course, he had 3.5 as the over in the Rangers game, and they have, just according to my notes, put up a 4th goal. And he had 5.5 as well. Is he going to hop on 6.5?
I am not going to hop on 6.5. I like them for 6 in this game. I think the Devils are going to start. They're going to put up a goal or two. I think we need the Devils to put up a goal or two to get that 5.5, because I don't think the Devils are pulling the goalie if they're down 5-0 to get us that 6th one. So I'm just for the math of it, I'm hoping the Devils score a goal or two. And, I think the Rangers, we're going to see the 5th goal for sure. The 6th one's going to have to come with an empty net, and we only are going to get that if the Devils put a goal up. So I'm not touching anything higher than that. 3.5 cashes. Let's see if we can get a little lunch money on the 5.5.
What about your Winnipeg play? Because we lost you there for a minute.
Yeah. So the Winnipeg play that came out, Winnipeg was up 3-1. It's now 3-2, and it looks like the Leafs just killed a Jets power play. But we're alive on that, and that was a dog money line play, and the Jets have played. They played these Leafs really tough. Leafs, on paper, are the best team in the league right now, but the Jets are a matchup nightmare for them, and just the physical style of play. So I like that matchup. That's going to be interesting when we get into the playoffs in the NHL, because the playoff structure in the NFL is very unique to what we've ever seen in a playoff in any sport. And when you see a top team like Montreal going to go up against a bad matchup in Winnipeg, do they even get out of the first? Do they even get out of their own division play?
All right, well, that's an excellent segue, because my question I have for you guys for this week, I always ask you guys a question that's nothing to do with a specific. It's a more general question. And this one is, where are you guys at? We're going to start with John. You're in Vegas. Vegas is opening up. It's the middle of April. When it comes to sports betting, what's getting you excited right now?
Right now, it's obviously the start of the Major League Baseball season. So we're keeping an eye on that. We're gathering all of our information. We're gathering all our stats on all our analytics to kind of move forward. Probably in the next couple of weeks is when we'll start boosting those plays up. And then I'll be looking forward to NBA playoffs. My NBA plays will kind of be dwindling down here towards the end of the season. Maybe focusing on just teams who are either can move up maybe in standings for playoff spots. But other than that, I'll kind of pick and choose my spots, and I will be focusing on Major League Baseball and then kind of waiting for the playoffs for NBA. I think the NBA playoffs, I don't want to say easier to bet, but if you get into a situation where maybe the team loses the first one or two games, you kind of got to think that team's going to want to bounce back in that situation. So these are just the opportunities that I look for the playoffs in the future.
Well, playoffs are series, and then it really is. A series is a totally different animal than a regular season NBA game. And if you think about it, now on the bottom of the screen, you can check out John on Instagram at GMF_sports_consultants. He's pretty easy to find. With the NBA playoffs, so you've got a situation where guys are sitting all the time in the NBA. I would imagine if you got a 3-game lead and you're locked into a spot and you can't catch the guys in front of you and the guy behind you can't catch, there's going to be an awful lot of sitting down. So you really have to look, John, at those standings before you even think of getting your money out.
Oh yeah, exactly. NBA is probably, I would say, the number one sport where you either have to literally wait until you get that exact lineup to make sure, because there's so many late scratches, the so-called rest days for these players in general. And just like you said, teams maybe jockeying for positions are going to keep their players in. Teams that are locked in, that feel comfortable, whether they're in a 2, 3, or 4 seed, they're going to rest these players. So you got to kind of really keep an eye on that and make sure you know what your lineups are before you go to that window and start putting in those bet tickets.
All right. Well, you know what I got to come up with? I got to come up with a button for the alarm for the live action. Whoa, 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 something like that, That was probably annoying, but because we got a goal in that second period already. We got a goal in the second period, so I'm hopping now on the 2.5. And I got that plus number, so what I'm doing is I'm taking half of what I will win if they get another goal, and I'm putting it on that they're going to get another goal. But the reason I wanted to break in is I wanted to talk about that second period with the matchup between Chicago and Detroit. Should we hop on anything now that it's tied up, Blackhawk West?
Well, yes, I'm. Well, now it went to 2.5, and the Blackhawks just started a power play. So you're talking a top 3 team in the league as far as power play percentage, and as far as goals to shots is a very high percentage. I mean, they scored their first goal inside of 3 shots. So the 2.5 is going to be, at least the bankroll management piece is going to be a quarter of what I laid out on the second period bet. So I can walk away a winner on that next goal, but still have a little bit more to press the action. And if I lose that reach play, that 2.5 over for the second period, then, I still came away a winner on that.
So what about Chicago Blackhawks plus a half a point for the second period?
That's not a bad play.
It's plus 154, and I've already clicked the button. So
yeah,
I was going to click it, I think, no matter what you said.
We're tied right now. So they got to allow some goals in order to make you a loser there. So I like that play. My fingers weren't fast enough to catch that.
Yeah. So here's where we're at next. We're gonna again. There's nothing. I don't see anything happening in baseball. There's the 2 games that are live. Toronto and Kansas City just kicked off. So, John, Wes, I'm going to ask you the same question. It's the middle of April. You're, I know you work at an amusement park. You're the head chef, so you got like a bazillion people you got to hire. you're going to work like a dog for the next 3 or 4 months. But in terms of sports betting, and you're actually going to the Arkansas Derby a week late tomorrow.
Yeah, well, it's actually, the group of guys that we booked the trip together, it wasn't a total miss because it's going to be the Apple Bottom Cup. So there's a few stakes races. They're not classified as Derby prep races, but there's a G3 and a G2. So, but yeah, it's going to be a good weekend. And but to what John was discussing and your question. Right now in April, I'm paying attention to baseball. I mean, just paying attention to John for sure in baseball because the man is unstoppable. But, really what I'm looking for in both the NBA and the NHL, I'm not touching top teams and I'm not touching bottom teams. Teams that are their position is pretty much established. I'm looking at those fringe teams, the two teams that are borderline in it and the two teams that are borderline out of it. This is a time of year where the NBA, it's hard to trust the NBA's lineups as it is unless you're really paying attention constantly throughout the day. But the NBA at this point, I don't think teams that are in the 6th seed really care about getting into that 5th seed. So, the NBA, I'm only touching the teams that are fringe teams in it or out of it. And, so I'm looking forward to the playoffs. I'm heavy into the NHL, as you know. Last year I went 9-3. I do series plays for the NHL.
Yes, we did. We talked about it on the show. I do remember that. Yep.
So we do series plays because I think though it's much easier to read. I think you're not going to have 4-game sweeps very often. You will have them, but I don't think it's a reliable strategy to bet a team to win every single game. But I'll bet the series plays with the NHL playoffs, and then game to game, it's the over under. Those are easy plays usually, and then in the NBA, I'll do series plays as well. But as far as what I'm looking at is I'm looking forward to the playoffs. The only things I'm really touching right now are fringe teams. If I touch teams, because the points, it doesn't really make a difference if the line is juicy on the totals for teams or game total. I'm looking at those, and then really I'm in full on CFL preparation. The CFL it sat dormant for 1 year. So some of the players that were 30, I don't know what it means for them for a quarterback to be 31, but take year 30 out of it. And, so I don't really know what that looks like. And there's been a lot of offseason moves, and the CFL, in order to follow it, it really takes a lot more effort than the NFL. So, but it is profitable. So I'm looking forward to that most of the summer. And, those are kind of my plays. I'm into the horses. I'll be all over the Oak Lawn card this Saturday, and that's what I got going on outside.
Well, you mentioned CFL and a little more difficult. I got to think it's a very similar analogy to the FCS football this past spring, where it was hard to find it. It was hard to find information. It wasn't front and center. Of course, if you're in Canada, it's probably a little easier. And we may even talk to our buddy Paulo, who's up there in Canada, and see. But we're planning on doing an Easy Sports data program for Canadian football this year for the first time ever. And it's going to be pretty easy because we don't have to worry about last year, do we?
No, we don't. And, access to the information about the CFL, it's out there. I mean, that's far easier than the FCS. The FCS, in some cases, on your favorite app, whatever it may be, if you're looking at the score and you click on stats, certain apps don't even have the stats provided to them because with the FCS. But the CFL information is out there. But, how do the teams make that transition from having a year off? Does Winnipeg just won the whole thing? Do they come back as strong as they were last year? I mean, they've had some personnel moves. The quarterback that won for them, he's now backing up Kyler Murray in Arizona. So there's things like that. And then does a player really age, or do they get even healthier and it extends their career? And that's going to be the hard piece. And then with the betting lines on the CFL, when it first starts, the live action gets limited until the odds makers of these web pages get their arms around which direction things are going and what teams to be afraid of and how to adjust.
But we see that house advantage in every aspect of sports. So when we come back from break, remember, this is our last segment we're coming upon, and then right after that, the sports loudmouths are coming out. So that's pretty cool. We haven't had somebody following us before on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. But when we come back from break, we're going to check in on that live action, and we're going to see about this weekend and what the guys think they're doing. You're watching Sports Betting Weekly. You're either listening right now on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, or you might be at sportsbettingweeklylive.com. Unless it's 8:43 in New York City, then you're live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
At championshipfootballs.com, they offer a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football that they sell. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. There's nothing worse than trying to find the right gift for somebody that already has everything. Whether that special present is for a New England Patriots fan or an Ohio State Buckeyes backer. Maybe Grams is a lifelong New York Giants supporter. Or your brother-in-law is a 12th man living in Seattle. Know a member of the Michigan State Alumni Association? Is there a better Father's Day gift for someone who's a Baltimore Ravens fan? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Buffalo Bills or those Minnesota Vikings, well, they're sorry about that. Also, if you're a New Mexico State Aggies or Tulane Green Wave alumnus, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't nice effort, you had a pretty good season, footballs.com. The name is championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
Hey, this is an important message. I'm Second Half Chaz from Sports Betting Weekly. Sports betting is supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. If you're hurting yourself by gambling with money you don't have, check out our website for the Gamblers Anonymous phone number.
When Vince Young scored on 4th and 5 in the 2006 Rose Bowl, two things happened. The Texas Longhorns won the NCAA title, and ChampionshipFootballs.com was born. From Texas to Alabama to Ohio State, and now for Super Bowl winners too. ChampionshipFootballs.com is the place for the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, 10 years later, ChampionshipFootballs.com has the autographs too. See if any of these names remind you of a special time in your football life. Michael Bennett, Lou Holtz, Joe Montana, Devin Smith, Jameis Winston, Rocky Blyer, Rocket Ishmael, Ara Parsegian, Mike Stonebreaker, Chris Zorich, Luther Bradley, Todd Light, Tony Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Dave Casper, Marcus Mariota, Rudy Rudiger, David Tyree. Enter the promo code RADIO and you'll instantly save $50 on any of the ChampionshipFootballs.com autographed footballs. ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. I am Second Half Chaz. Remember, we say when you watch, you will cash tickets, and it could possibly be the most profitable hour of your day. Well, you know what? From the beginning, Wes wasn't even here, and he was giving us winners. Today, John gave us winners. I gave John winners. We're just like the Three Stooges of cashing tickets is what we is. And we got another winner because I just cashed a ticket on that 1.5 team, second period over with the Chicago Blackhawks and the Detroit Red Wings. Wes, thank you very much.
It was
Good job.
Now if the Blackhawks can pop one in, we'll get the 2.5, and we end the period that way, and you're going to get your plus half a point.
Yeah, and the half a point is one of those. John do you have a? John has a term for the units. What kind of unit do you call that's when you make a small play like that? Don't you have a term you use that's not? Partial unit, maybe, right?
Yeah, well, either I usually just do quarter or half units. Yeah. Usually that's what I don't have a specific name for it, but
yeah. And that's what that was because
some lunch money.
Yeah, not even. Yeah. I basically bet $5 to win more than $5, so I'm gonna take it. But I looked and I said, should we hop now on the next one because we have done it before, and that is basically 3.5. But when I looked, they weren't letting me bet 3.5 yet. But they had the 2.5 that I already have it. What did I get it at? Plus 117, I think. And it's minus 2 something right now. So that's always good. That's another way you can tell whether your play is good, is the odds you got it at and the odds they are now. And when they're going in the opposite direction, that's not what you want to see.
Yeah, definitely. And well, this is all a part of just necessarily changing your attitude from gambling to where now you're sports investing, because you're doing your units, you're structuring your unit size, you're putting yourself in a position, regardless of what happens later with these in-game plays, are ready to win. But now, since you're getting plus money, these little quarter units and these half units start turning up more profit throughout the long run. And that's the difference to where us, as we're sports investing, because we're getting our money in at the right time, at the right price.
And I think it's important to point out that in the last 35 seconds of play, Detroit scored another goal. So that worked against that plus for the Blackhawks, but it cashed the over 2.5 for the period. So in what I think it's been 15 minutes since we called out that Blackhawks play.
Right. That's so again, I'm winning money. I'm winning. I got a couple nice tickets there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to be true to the whole concept of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. and really, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and look at that second period total, and it's now at 3.5. And I'm going to hop on it again for just enough to make it interesting, but not enough to buy lunch, you know?
Yeah. Maybe a cheeseburger, you know?
Well, you know what? I went out this weekend. And as you know, the world is opening up a little bit. And cheeseburgers are not cheap.
Nope.
I went out and it was a very, very good cheeseburger. I'm not going to kid you. It was real meat. And it was the kind where it's a different color in the middle. If you get your food handed to you in a window and you buy a cheeseburger, and you're a chef, Wes, so I'm not telling you anything you don't know.
Yeah.
It's the same color all the way through. But when you go to a restaurant, you buy a cheeseburger, in the middle, it's a little different color, and the color might be based on how you ask them to cook it. And it was just a really, really good cheeseburger, but it was more than my average unit. Okay, that's how much a cheeseburger was. But where was I? I was in Del Mar. I spent the weekend in Del Mar, and you know, when you have places that have $20 million homes and hotel rooms are $473 a night, you got to expect a cheeseburger to be more than $5. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's always nice to treat yourself too. Like you said, you were enjoying yourself a weekend, so nothing wrong with getting a nice.
Oh, it really was. It really was. And it was just so eerily quiet because Del Mar's not open and there's nothing going on there.
Nothing going on.
Yeah, they don't even have the equestrians. They have a big equestrian, so you get to see some horse players and the horse riders, the jumpers, and all those things that they weren't there. All right, so let's talk about Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because if you're listening, what do we know? You should have probably cashed at least 3 tickets if you've been here since 8 o'clock. You probably could catch a couple more as the day goes on after the show's over. And at 9 o'clock, the loudmouths are on. And who doesn't like a good loudmouth? You know what I mean? But let's talk about tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. Let's talk first to Blackhawk West. So you're going to be at the racetrack. Now, we just recently this week started talking with the group of guys that we go to the Derby every year. We don't go to Kentucky. We have a Derby party every year, and we didn't have it last year, so we're trying to figure out what we're going to do this year. But the one thing I know, when I went to Santa Anita for the Breeders' Cup last year, we were betting college football at the Breeders' Cup. Will you be betting sports at Oaklawn?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, the track is entertainment. These are not full units. The sports investing that keeps the lights on, and the track is fun. So I'm going to be doing that, but I'm going to, we have a table. There will be a sports game on the table. I made sure there's a view of NHL, and so I'm going to be into the NHL this week. And then there's a couple NBA that I'm looking at, just for some team overs, and there's these NBA plays. You never know what the NBA world is going to hand you as far as a team that is going to win. They're going to win by a bunch, but they just go down by enough to give you a great opportunity to ease some tension and just find another win there. So the sports investing will always pay the mortgage and keep the lights on.
The beauty of the racetrack is it's 2 minutes of entertainment, 30 minutes apart. It's not like, you have to say, I'm watching a game. Give me 2 minutes. And actually, as you know, some of the races are a minute and 9 seconds if it's a good horse.
Yeah.
And so in that respect, it gives you a lot of time, especially if you've already done your sports, your handicap and your racing form reading ahead of time. No doubt about that.
With the racing form, I realize that this might be a unique thought, but with the racing form, there's these big races, the big stakes races, the Derby prep races. Those are the races we want to watch because they lead to something more. But those are the harder races to handicap. Just the basic claiming race, the allowance race, just the day-to-day average race. A lot of times you're going to get a real apples to apples when you're breaking down the program because they've been racing in the same track. They've been racing against common opponents, and it can be a little bit more predictable than these big high-flying stakes races where there's horses coming from all over the country. You got Baffert on the East Coast. And so some of those stakes races, I don't know that those are the safest ways to be reading your program. Does a Santa Anita race really matter out at Belmont? It's harder to crunch, at least from my.
Well, and you've got a great point. You've got horses that have never run at the track and jockeys that have never raced on a horse, and you're going to. It really becomes what we talked about with March Madness and in the bowl games with college football when you have teams coming from other conferences and there's no way to really put a stick there and say, hey, how do you compare this to that? All right, so John, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to be in Las Vegas. I know that you said it's opening up. You're starting to see things. The casinos are hiring. Do you think you're going to go back and spend as much time at casinos right away as you did in the past? Or are you going to just come in, get your plays in, do what you got to do and get out of there?
I probably eventually do. I'm still at the casino, at the sports book, as of now. I don't spend as much time as I used to, pre-COVID, but eventually I'll get back to that point. I'm a gambler at heart. I live in Las Vegas. There's a casino also 5 minutes away from my house.
Hold on.
So that makes it easier. Yeah.
Hold on. Wait a minute. I forgot all about your little prize.
Oh yeah. You see the little jackpot. Yeah.
Tell everybody what you showed us. This, if you go, and I'm going to go right to that banner now. Right. And again, you go to the sports betting page, and you go and you check out the sports betting cash tickets tab on the sports betting page. It won't help you with this story. There's
no advice I can give you for winning slot machines. It's kind of being at the right machine at the right time.
Tell us what happened.
Yeah. So we were playing just some slot machines. I'm a big Keno. For people who don't know who Keno, it's kind of similar to bingo. Pick numbers and hope that it lights up your numbers.
Well, everybody's seen Christmas Vegas Vacation.
Oh, Vegas. Oh yeah, that's one of my great things. We always kind of, the money is all mine. And so it's a relatively easy game. There's no thought into it. You pick numbers, you hit the button, and you hope that it hits, you hope that it hits your numbers. There's no thought process in it. There's nothing like that. So I was able to hit a nice little jackpot for $7,000. I hit a 7 out of 7 for Keno, which is, if people who play it, they know.
Like $6?
Yeah. It was a max bet. So it was a $4 play, actually. So $4 play. Yeah. $4 every time you hit the button. So so it adds up quick.
Of course it does, but $7,000 adds up quick too.
$7,000 is nice when you have that lady counting out your money to you. It's a nice feeling.
They come, the bells go off and the lady comes over.
The bells come off and you have to sign the tax papers. You gotta sign your W-2G and she's counting out your money and people are looking at you, and that's kind of the lure of Vegas, I think, right? That's when you're sitting there doing
the IRS window is different. They come to you when you win like that.
Oh yeah,
to go to them. Yeah. But so now, what will you do? Will you keep do you have a card where you'll get your losses to write off that money?
Yeah, I have a card and I have a running total, and then at the end of the year, obviously, I have to claim that as my taxes. But it kind of goes all together with your profits and losses, and you get a printout from the casino, and it takes everything, sports betting, your table games, and you can also mix and match that to everything else that you do.
It's another reason why it's important to use your card. I tell people,
oh yeah,
first thing you do when you go to a casino, you wait in line and you get a card. It's really smart for a lot of reasons. If you lose a ticket, you can get the ticket back. You get the premium. You might get a free cheeseburger if you bet enough.
Yeah, well, you build the points, and then for the jackpots, you get a chance at free play. So you get some free play, and then just like that, it just keeps. If you find yourself betting a lot at the casino and for tax purposes, it's just easier to keep all that information in one spot. You can literally call them up. There's some times where you can just go online and you can print up your win-loss statement. So it makes everything easier that way. So,
all right, before we go, John, tell them how to find you.
GMF Sports Consultants on Instagram, GMF Sports Betting on Facebook. Also type in on your web browser, GMF Sports Consultants. You can pull up my website. All the packages, information. You can also get a hold of us on that hashtag cash tickets. You get a chance to work with us on the weekend. You can get some of Wes's hockey plays. You can work with me for baseball and basketball, and let's cash some tickets this weekend,
You there, Wes?
Yeah, I'm here.
So where can we find you?
You can find me at 151 Sports Investing on the big three on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and my members page is Chicago Options Trader through the Discord. And you can find me there through Facebook, and it's got its own web page. And you can find me just like Second Half Chaz and John at the Cash Tickets page. You go
SportsBettingWeekly.com, hashtag Cash Tickets. We got a shot here. We got a couple minutes left. We're not going to be live on this game, but we've already cashed 2 tickets on this game. Wes has cashed 3 or 4 more for us. It's just another great week. This is our 3 weeks in a row now with taking a week off. We didn't count that we cashed tickets. And guess what? If you hang around, you're going to get the loudmouths on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network and cashing tickets. It's why it's an app worth its weight in Bitcoin. You can catch us later on this week on SportsBettingWeeklyLive.com or the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. I am Second Half Chaz. Do me a favor, always be cashing.